Hello everyone, I'm Tomasdaspoon, and this is James.
That's James.
He was made mostly as a commission by my good friend Cole, aka STankEngine105. Here's his socials, go follow him. Cole and I are going to be taking you through all the mods done on James in this video. I originally dropped James's release in December of last year, but I wanted to make a video on him, taking you through all the steps and processes to make him. I asked Twitter if there was any interest in this, and the response was unanimous. Anyway, here is the process to make James. As crazy as it may seem, this project has come a long way, with original plans stemming as far back as 2020. It only really started happening in September of 2023. Cole and I were discussing plans on faces, and he persuaded me to buy a pair, so he could paint them up for me. Originally, I wanted to use my then current James I got back in 2020, but I planned against it as I wanted to keep it the way it was, reflecting the era I was going to leave, in a sense giving it respect. This was also due because I wanted to change a few things on the current James from the old one. Firstly, I really wanted my ideal James to have a front pony truck. James's Tomy model really irks me because there was space to put it in, but they didn't do it. I kinda get it because kids might eat it and die, but like, come on, there was space to do it. Edward had 2 sets of front wheels for his model, so why can't James have 1? I know it's such a minor thing, but it always bugged me as a kid. I mean, did anyone else growing up notice this, or like, I don't know, I don't get it. Speaking of the front wheel, I knew I wanted to keep James as close as possible to the Tomy style, so I figured I'd use 2 of Edward's front wheels as the bogey wheels. That way it wouldn't look too off, and it'd be in style. Conveniently, I had an old broken down Edward that I could take parts from. Like I said before, I wanted to change the faces of James as well. The main Tomy Trackmaster tender engines always had this weird wonky eye thing that never really got fixed until like 2013. It always bothered me because you always had the film and engine looking wonky and it didn't look right. The problem could have been solved by getting the Playroll versions of them, but I wanted my ideal James to have different facial expressions from the TV show, as well as different eye movements, as James is so expressive in the TV series. For the faces, I ended up buying Rexecution's face files for James scaled to Tomy by Thomas Tank Merch. Technically, you could buy the regular 00 scale faces from Rexecution on his shapeways, but you can buy from Tank Merch as well and he can scale it down to whatever size you would want. Anyway, I bought the faces from Tank Merch and waited for them to ship. Around the same time, I was looking for a good condition James to use for the project. I ended up finding a new Tomy James in the box for a pretty cheap price. It was a little bit sun-faded, but I thought it would work, so I bought it. In early October, the faces finally came, and oh my god, they're so beautiful. Tank Merch even put a new coat of primer on them, so they looked even nicer. A few days later, the new unboxed James came too, but I wasn't very satisfied with it. It was a lot more sun damage than I thought it was. To add to it, there was also a dent on the top of the boiler. So now I have to start all over again. After recomposing myself, I bit the bullet and tried again looking for another James in a good condition. I landed on one that I really liked and asked the seller for more pics, just in case. And it was solid. I bought it and it arrived only a few days after the first James arrived. It was a lot better in condition compared to the new unboxed James. I also took a few pictures to compare the new James with the 2020 James I talked about earlier. Progress halted for about a month or 2 because I had college. I want to kill myself. It was only till late November that I could ship the items to Cole. The items themselves being, and bear with me here, a Trackmaster James, Rexecution's James face files, 2 of Edward's front pony truck wheels, 2 Trackmaster salt vans, 2 Trackmaster 2 mail vans, and a green Trackmasters CCT van. I sent all these things in the US to Canada for Cole to take on. It took roughly 2 weeks, but in early December, James was finally at Cole's.
When James arrived, I opened him right away. Within minutes, he was taken apart. I disassembled him, took the smoke box, and drew an outline over the eyes would go. Drilled it so that the faces would sit flush with the movable eyeballs. Over the next few days, I started prepping the faces for painting. Once I got them painted, in Rust-Oleum aged gray, I asked Thaddeus what he thought for eyebrows. Thaddeus settled in Season 3 and 4, as he felt that's where the faces looked the best. I'm more of a Season 2 guy, so I'm not going to agree with that, but there's more references on hand, which made it easier for painting. Now for the fun part, James's bogey. James's bogey was built using an old Tomy Edward, a toothpick. That was it? James's bogey was made using an old Tomy Edward and a toothpick. Simply removed Edward's wheels, pulled the pins out from the wheels, slid the toothpick in, glued a hollow cylinder to James's chassis, slid the bar through and attached the wheel on the other side. Simple as that. The wheels were then painted black, given a gloss coat. Once the parts were dry, I glued them to James and sent a photo for Thaddeus to see if he was happy with the results. While I waited, I wasn't happy with the results, and Thaddeus wasn't either. We found that James was leaning up front and upsetting the balance. James had a slight lean to him in the front. However, it wasn't an issue with the bogey. It was an issue with me. I assembled James wrong. I put the middle wheel in the wrong spot. Oh my. Oh. Sorry about that. He used a shot of Henry with that snuffle at the end. Oh my god. Tomy Nitro Diesel time will come to your house.
Once finding that issue, I quickly fixed it, and James was done.
During this time, I started to work on the trucks that Thaddeus went along to do with James. Included was Mr. Jolly's chocolate van, 2 Trackmaster 2 mail vans, and 2 salt vans. I started with the salt vans. One was painted in Season 6 white, and the other in Season 2 brown. Relatively easy to do. I think I finished them in the day. Next was the Mr. Jolly's Chocolate Factory van, which Thaddeus wanted to turn to the CCT van from Series 1. Removed all the Sharpie from Thaddeus. I primed and painted the model, sent it to Thaddeus and said we should do weathering. Thaddeus agreed, and we weathered it. It was pretty nice. Lastly was the Trackmaster 2 mail vans. I painted them gray, and just weathered them. We weren't sure what to base them off of. I think they used a Melody Air van from the show. They don't look the same, but it works. Once the rolling stock was finished, I went back to James for the final details. I added a whistle and a brake pipe. I sent a photo to Thaddeus with James with a brake pipe and a whistle, as a joke to Thaddeus, saying imagine if we did this. Thaddeus loved it, and we decided to keep him, and that was it. I sent a photo to Thaddeus with all the items together, and it was back to Thaddeus' place.
So in asking to do such a last-minute project, I thought James would have arrived until after Christmas. But nope, Cole got him done in roughly a week and he arrived shortly at my house before Christmas. And man, did it sure feel like Christmas when opening that box. What came in the box was discussed earlier, with few things being changed. Cole gave me truck faces for the salt fans, as well as tanker faces for my tankers that I have in my collection. Putting faces that day for the first time was so fun because this is the first time I've ever done it. Feels like being a kid again, you know? Before doing anything, I had to give James a test run, of course. There was only 2 or 3 things to get done before James was complete. That being the lining, running board, and handrails. So I unscrewed James and took him apart. So fun fact, I actually used Sharpies to do the lining and running board. It's always what I used, and it's pretty easy. The running board usually takes a few layers to cover it though. After completing the little details, I put James back together. And with the addition of the brake pipe, he was done. He got faces, he got a working bogey, he got 3D printed parts for him. He's very, very cute. Quickly mention this, but his eyes are 6mm BB gun pellet balls. Cole didn't mention this, so I just bring it up. Anyway, these mods were done very quick, and he was done on Christmas Day in time for his reveal. It's been a year since the reveal, so there are a few updates that James has had. This happened last January, and I had to send the faces back to Cole to get clear-coated. But hey, we're back with twice the amount of faces we had back in December. And a little more got added later. James's whistle has changed too. The original was a 3D printed plastic whistle, but it was weak and broke easily. Now James has a brass whistle that is way more durable and more splendid. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the present. It's been a year since this idiot's been revealed, and I'm so happy in all the decisions that were made on James. He's just such a fun project to oversee and contribute in. I want to give Cole a massive thank you for dealing with me over the course of this project, and in the others that we have done and will do. Speaking of that, if I do another one of these, who do you want to see next? Maybe Edward? Or Henry? Gordon, maybe? Answer in the comments, I really want to know what you guys want me to look at next. With that being said, this video's been almost 13 minutes long, and I probably should end it soon. So yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it. This is Tomasdaspoon signing out. Bye-bye!